Hello, everyone, and welcome to English Pod. My name is Marco.
My name is Catherine, and today we have a sad lesson for you. This is an intermediate level lesson about what happens when a friend or family member dies.
Exactly. So we have a lot of words that are related to all the preparations for when somebody dies, and also some phrases that you can say to someone that maybe had a family member who recently passed away. So before we get into all of this, we have a key word that we want to take a look at now in Vocabulary Preview.
Vocabulary Preview.
All right, so in Vocabulary Preview, you have that one word, and it's the title of our lesson also, funeral.
Funeral. So funeral is an event. It's something that we have. So basically, a funeral is the time when we mourn someone who has died. It's a celebration of their life.
Right, so it's kind of like a ceremony where you respect that person that passed away, right? Some people will talk about the person that passed away, or maybe, it's time to maybe honor that person, to, as you say, mourn and remember that person.
Right. So it's very common for people in different religions to have different traditions. In some religions, like I think in Christianity, you have a priest who will say some things that are very traditional and then say some things about the person who died. And other religions have different ceremonies.
Right.
So today we're going to take a look at what happens in preparing a funeral.
Hi, Daniel. How are you holding up? I'm greatly sorry for your loss.
Thank you. I'm doing much better. I've begun organizing everything for the funeral.
How's that going?
It's a lot harder than I imagined. There are many things that you have to arrange. I booked a time and date with the funeral home, but I still have a lot of things to do.
Have you bought a burial plot and a casket?
No, Wendy is being cremated. She always talked about how she didn't want to be buried. I already chose a cremation urn, and we plan to spread the ashes in the ocean.
I see. That sounds like something she would have really liked. I'm sure the memorial service will be tasteful. You're doing a great job.
Thanks. It hasn't been easy, but luckily we have life insurance, and Wendy left behind a detailed will that will sort out any other legal matters.
All right, we're back. So a pretty interesting dialogue, and I'm sure you have a lot of questions regarding some of those words and phrases that you heard. So why don't we take a look at 5 key words on language takeaway?
Language takeaway.
So basically, we have 2 friends in this dialogue who are discussing arrangements for a funeral, and one friend is asking the other about his preparations and asks if he's bought a burial plot.
Okay, burial plot. Now, what is a burial plot, and why would you buy one?
Well, a plot, P-L-O-T, plot is a piece of land. So you can think about this logically. A burial plot, burial, to bury, is a place, a space in the ground where we bury a person.
Usually you buy one of these at a cemetery, right?
That's right. So cemeteries have usually a lot of land, and you can pay for a piece of land.
A small portion.
A small portion, yeah. And that's a burial plot.
Okay, good. And, well, our next word is related to what you put into this burial plot, right? Somebody dies, and what goes into this piece of land is a casket.
That's right. And I don't know if any of you are fans of the TV show 6 Feet Under, but you'll know from this TV show that there are many different kinds of caskets.
Right.
So a casket is a box. You can have fancy caskets, or you can have wooden caskets that are very simple, like pine. And basically, this is the box that the person's body will go into when they're buried.
Right. Very good. So that is called a casket. Well, moving on, a new trend, I would say, in many countries and many people around the world don't want to be buried. So what happens? You get cremated.
Cremated. So this is the option for people who are not buried. In some countries, China, for example, I don't think you can be buried. You have to be cremated because there's an issue of space.
Right.
And this is an option for most people where basically your friend or your loved one, their body is burned, and you can collect the remains afterwards. They're very small. They're ashes.
Right.
So it's like a burning process.
Okay, interesting. So the word is to be cremated, to get cremated.
Yeah, his body was cremated.
And well, as you said, you take the ashes and you can put them in a cremation urn or just an urn.
Okay, urn. This might sound like a strange word to you, but an urn is a special kind of pot, okay, or a vessel to hold things in. So, for example, in this case, we have a cremation urn that is a special pot, usually very beautiful. Sometimes there's a name on it with the deceased person's ashes,
Right.
his or her remains.
Okay, very good. So, as you said, it's kind of like a vase or a pot, something very nice and small where you have the person's ashes. All right, so now we know what happened during the funeral. We know what happens, how you maybe cremate the person or you put them in a casket. And, well, what happens afterwards?
Well, afterwards, you have a memorial service. Okay, so many people want to know what's the difference between a funeral and a memorial service.
Right.
In my mind, a funeral is very quiet and sad, and you have some respectful words, and you usually put the casket into the ground, or you have some kind of ceremony. But a memorial service is an opportunity to talk to friends and family, to eat some food, to have some drinks, to talk about the person who died. It's almost like the party, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's a get-together of people who obviously are trying to give support to their friends or their family members who lost that person, but also to talk about that person in a good way and all the great memories they had. I guess that's why it's called a memorial service, because you remember and you give out your memories about that person.
Exactly.
Okay, great. So a lot of interesting words there, very specific to this topic, but obviously really important. So why don't we go back and listen to the dialogue again?
Hi, Daniel. How are you holding up? I'm greatly sorry for your loss.
Thank you. I'm doing much better. I've begun organizing everything for the funeral.
How's that going?
It's a lot harder than I imagined. There are many things that you have to arrange. I booked a time and date with the funeral home, but I still have a lot of things to do.
Have you bought a burial plot and a casket?
No, Wendy is being cremated. She always talked about how she didn't want to be buried. I already chose a cremation urn and we plan to spread the ashes in the ocean.
I see. That sounds like something she would have really liked. I'm sure the memorial service will be tasteful. You're doing a great job.
Thanks. It hasn't been easy, but luckily we have life insurance and Wendy left behind a detailed will that will sort out any other legal matters.
All right, we're back. So we have a couple of phrases, 4 to be exact, that we want to take a look at now in Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
Okay, this first phrase is a very useful one if you're trying to ask someone about maybe how they're feeling, or someone who's had some problems recently. You can ask them how things are going. One person says to the other, "Hi, Daniel, how are you holding up?"
Right. How are you holding up? Now, you know that to hold up something means to have it in your hands, but in this case, you're talking about how are things going?
Right, but I wouldn't say, "Hey, how are you holding up?"
Right. You wouldn't say that to somebody, right? If normal circumstance.
Not if Marco looks really happy, I won't ask him. But if someone has passed through a very difficult period, for example, if someone dies in their family, or perhaps if they've been very sick, or, there's some negative or difficult things that happen, you can say, "How are you holding up?"
So basically means how are you dealing with this difficult situation?
Yes, exactly.
Or how are you dealing with your illness? Okay. How are you holding up?
Or how are you holding up with your in-laws?
Right, exactly. How are you dealing with that difficult situation? And then the person complimented this by saying, and this is a very good phrase, this whole sentence is very useful if you want to say something nice to a person that has recently lost someone. You say, "I am greatly sorry for your loss."
Okay, so you might have heard the word loss before. Lose, loss. Loss is a noun. It's a thing. We normally say this about people who have died, because you don't want to say, "I'm really sorry for your dead brother."
Right.
That's it's sad. It's
Too direct.
very rude. Too direct. So in English we say, "I'm greatly sorry for your loss, for this part of your life that has been, that has gone away.
Right.
You can also say, I'm very sorry for your loss. This is standard phrase this is a standard phrase for funerals and memorial services.
Exactly. So if somebody's brother died, you go up to that person and you can say, I am greatly sorry for your loss. I am very sorry for your loss. That's what you say. And it's very respectful and it's very nice to say.
Yes, it's very nice.
All right. So now moving on, we've said that the person is sorry and everything. But then they were talking about the girl Wendy and that she had life insurance and that she also left behind a detailed will.
Does that mean she forgot it?
She forgot it. But that it can mean that, right?
Right. No, yeah, this is a phrase that has a couple different meanings. And so it's important to look at this one when we're talking about someone who has died, who left behind something. It means that they have completed it in this case, or it survives them.
Okay. So they left that for you. Okay. Because as you said, it has a couple of different meanings. Like to leave behind can be to lose or to forget. But in this case, specifically, it's to leave for you.
Yeah. For example, you could say he died and he left behind 3 children. Okay. So that means that he had 3 children when he died and they're still alive.
Right. Okay. Very interesting phrase, to leave something behind. And so she left behind a detailed will, and that's going to sort out any other legal matters.
To sort out. This is a great verb. This is it's a verbal phrase that we hear a lot with documents and wills and things like this. Basically, to sort out means to solve problems or to fix or to amend. For example, have you sorted out that problem you had with your plane tickets?
Okay, yeah, to sort out. So have you fixed those problems or have you solved those problems that you had with your plane tickets?
To sort out, to fix, to make arrangements for. Very, very useful phrase.
Very useful phrase. Okay. So 4 key phrases there, really good ones. Why don't we go back, listen to the dialogue, and we'll be back to talk a little bit more.
Hi, Daniel. How are you holding up? I'm greatly sorry for your loss.
Thank you. I'm doing much better. I've begun organizing everything for the funeral.
How's that going?
It's a lot harder than I imagined. There are many things that you have to arrange. I booked a time and date with the funeral home, but I still have a lot of things to do.
Have you bought a burial plot and a casket?
No, Wendy is being cremated. She always talked about how she didn't want to be buried. I already chose a cremation urn and we plan to spread the ashes in the ocean.
I see. That sounds like something she would have really liked. I'm sure the memorial service will be tasteful. You're doing a great job.
Thanks. It hasn't been easy, but luckily we have life insurance and Wendy left behind a detailed will that will sort out any other legal matters.
All right, we're back. So now, talking about funerals, there's an interesting word. What is it called when a person speaks at a funeral?
Well, normally at a funeral, a loved one or friend will give a eulogy.
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 Okay, that's EU, right?
EU. It looks like a funny word, but it's very important, and it's something that you hear a lot. Who will give the eulogy? Or his son will give the eulogy. So this is maybe the keynote address in a funeral. This is the important speech where someone will discuss the person who has died and his or her contributions and life.
Right. Okay, so that's called a eulogy. That's
right.
really, really interesting because, I don't know, it's kind of a word that you don't really use much and you wouldn't really know it. For example, I didn't really know about it until I saw it in a movie when he made a mistake. He said Googlegy or something like that.
Oh,
I
really?
remember. Yeah, it was in a comedy. So, but very interesting words. It's a sad topic, but it happens. Sometimes you have to deal with these things. And so if you have to do it in English, well, what better way than to learn all of these things, which could come in handy sometimes.
That's right. And, you never know. You're watching a movie or something and this comes up. There are a lot of comedies, like you said. We call them black comedies. It means they're very dark and
talk about death.
strange. And they like Four Weddings and a Funeral is a very famous English movie about this kind of thing. And so this is useful vocabulary and some useful phrases for those situations as well.
Exactly. Even if you maybe meet somebody who, I remember I knew somebody who met a casket salesman.
Really?
Sold caskets.
It's an interesting job.
Yeah, so you never know.
You never know. Well, hope you've enjoyed this lesson. Not too dark for you, but please do remember to ask us any questions or practice some of your new words and phrases on our website, EnglishPod.com.
All right, we'll see you guys there.
Bye.
Bye. The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Continue to live through hardship. Hold up. The act of burying, especially the interment of a dead body. Burial. Burn up something and reduce to ash. Cremate. Being in keeping with good taste. Tasteful. Having many details. Detail.
Let's try that faster.
Continue to live through hardship. Hold up. Having many details. Detail. Burn up something and reduce to ash. Cremate. Being in keeping with good taste. Tasteful. The act of burying, especially the interment of a dead body. Burial.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Hold up. Craig is holding up well after the surgery. Hold up. He continued to hold up even with all the stress. Hold up. Our family is having a difficult time holding up after my father's death. Burial. Burial plot are expensive in Japan. Burial. My parents bought burial plot that are next to each other. Burial. Each burial plot in our cemetery has an individual ID number. Cremate. Cremation is more and more popular these days. Cremate. I want to be cremated when I die. Cremate. Many people choose to be cremated nowadays. Tasteful. This is a very tasteful color you use for your home. Tasteful. I think that this place is charming and tasteful. Tasteful. The wedding we attended was elegant and tasteful. Detail. There are detailed instructions on how to assemble the computer. Detail. Mike left detailed contact information in case you need to contact him. Detail. This book contains detailed information about Italy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Pod. My name is Marco.
My name is Catherine, and today we are covering a very important health issue.
That's right. We are That's right. In case of an emergency, maybe somebody stops breathing, so we need to apply CPR. Now, what is this procedure? Well, let's take a look at it in vocabulary preview.
Vocabulary preview.
CPR in English is an acronym. That means C, P, and R all stand for different words. The big phrase here is cardiopulmonary resuscitation.
All right.
So you don't have to remember that.
Well, that's pretty hard. What if you break it down? So what is cardio?
Cardio means it has to do with your heart.
And then pulmonary?
Pulmonary means lungs.
It has to do with your lungs. And what about resuscitation?
That means to bring back.
So to resuscitate is to bring back to life.
That's right.
Okay. So this is a very popular procedure. You probably see it in movies when, somebody almost drowned, the lifeguard performs CPR.
Oh, no. The love of my life has just drowned. And then someone comes and they push their chest and they say 1, 2, 3.
And
they
then,
count.
And then the person spits out water and everything. And they're like... All right.
I always loved you.
All right, so that's CPR. Why don't we listen to this dialogue, see what's going on, and we'll be back shortly.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our CPR for Beginners course. First of all, does anyone know what CPR stands for?
Cardiopulmonary resuscitation.
That's right. We apply CPR in the case of cardiac arrest or pulmonary arrest.
What does that mean?
Well, basically, if your heart stops pumping blood or your lungs stop pumping air, then we need to get them going again. That's when we have to apply this procedure. Let's begin. I need a volunteer.
Me!
All right, come here and lay flat on your back. Let's suppose this young woman has stopped breathing. We must lift the person's chin so that we clear a pathway for air to get into the lungs. Then, we place our mouth over the other person's mouth and blow air 2 or 3 times, like this.
Wait, what are you doing? I'm a married woman. You can't just try to kiss me like that.
Ma'am, I'm not trying to kiss you. I'm trying to demonstrate how to apply CPR in the case of an emergency.
Well, okay, no French kissing.
As I was saying, we blow air through the mouth in this manner. Once this is done, we must try to get the heart going again. To do this, we place our hands over the person's chest and press down firmly 2 or 3 times.
Wait, what are you doing? You can't just kiss me then go for second base.
All right, we're back. So a couple of pretty difficult words and phrases there, but don't worry. We'll explain them now in Language Takeaway.
Language takeaway.
The first phrase we've got today is cardiac arrest.
All right, so cardiac arrest. Now, cardiac, I think that has to do with the heart again, right?
Exactly, your heart.
And what about arrest?
Well, arrest means 2 things. Maybe you've heard of this meaning to arrest somebody. The police arrested someone. Well, this means to stop.
To stop.
Okay? So we're not talking about the police here. We're talking about the heart stopping.
Okay.
So cardiac arrest means when your heart stops.
Okay, and another word that's right next to it, pulmonary arrest. So I'm guessing, again, pulmonary has to do with lungs.
That's right.
And arrest stops, so your lungs stop pumping air.
Exactly. So cardiac and pulmonary arrest, these are 2 times when your heart or your lungs, they stop doing what they are supposed to do.
All right, and interestingly enough, the heart pumps blood, the lungs pump air, and that's our next word. What is this word to pump?
To pump means to fill something with, okay? So, for example, the heart pumps blood to the rest of your body. That means it's always making sure your body has blood going into it. And the same thing with your lungs. Your lungs help oxygen and air get to the rest of your body. So they pump it. They fill up with air.
Okay. And we can do the same in other things. For example, you pump air into your tire.
That's right. If you have a flat tire, you're riding your bicycle and your bicycle won't move. Oh no, you have to pump it with air. That means fill it up with air.
Okay. Or maybe even pump water, right? Like in your house.
Or pump your car up with gas.
Okay. All right, very good. So now the man is going to explain how to perform this procedure, CPR, and he asks for a volunteer.
Okay, a volunteer. This is a word that can be both a noun, so a thing, and it can be an action, a verb.
Okay, so who is or what is a volunteer?
A volunteer is someone who offers to do something for free.
For free, without you asking them to do it.
Right, so are there any volunteers in the room?
Right, and
who
somebody
wants
says,
to write this on the board? Me, I do.
Okay.
You can also volunteer to help people who need help. So, for example, in Haiti, there's an earthquake, and there are many people who offered to volunteer to help Haitians. So that means they said, I will work for free to help these people. A volunteer.
A volunteer, or to volunteer. Very good. So now we have our volunteer, and the man is explaining what to do. Lift the person's chin so that we clear a pathway for air to get into the lungs.
Oh, this is a good one. So a path is like a road. It's where something can go, can move. To clear a pathway means to make some room.
To make a clear path.
So that means, think about it. If you can't breathe, someone has to find a way to make room, to make a hole for you to breathe. So that means to move whatever is blocking you, to clear some kind of space.
Okay, so that's a pathway, a clear space. And now, well, he's demonstrating how to perform CPR. So what is this verb, to demonstrate?
To demonstrate is very important. We use this in most kinds of teaching. So to demonstrate is to show or to give an example.
Okay, so for example, here in English Pod, we are demonstrating how to use these words in sentences.
Exactly. So an example is a good way to demonstrate the word or the phrase.
Very good. All right, why don't we listen to this dialogue again, and we'll be back in a bit.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our CPR for Beginners course. First of all, does anyone know what CPR stands for?
Cardiopulmonary resuscitation.
That's right. We apply CPR in the case of cardiac arrest or pulmonary arrest.
What does that mean?
Well, basically, if your heart stops pumping blood or your lungs stop pumping air, then we need to get them going again. That's when we have to apply this procedure. Let's begin. I need a volunteer.
Me!
All right, come here and lay flat on your back. Let's suppose this young woman has stopped breathing. We must lift the person's chin so that we clear a pathway for air to get into the lungs. Then, we place our mouth over the other person's mouth and blow air 2 or 3 times, like this.
Wait, what are you doing? I'm a married woman. You can't just try to kiss me like that.
Ma'am, I'm not trying to kiss you. I'm trying to demonstrate how to apply CPR in the case of an emergency.
Well, okay, no French kissing.
As I was saying, we blow air through the mouth in this manner. Once this is done, we must try to get the heart going again. To do this, we place our hands over the person's chest and press down firmly 2 or 3 times.
Wait, what are you doing? You can't just kiss me then go for second base.
All right, we're back. So now let's go with Fluency Builder.
Fluency builder.
Well, the first phrase in Fluency Builder we hear in the beginning of today's dialogue. The teacher says, well, basically, if your heart stops pumping blood, then we need to get it going again. Okay?
So that's a whole phrase there, to get something going, to get it going. What do you mean by this?
This means to start it up again. Okay? So we could say, I used to teach an English class for my colleagues, but we stopped having it. I'd like to get it going again.
Okay, so you'd like to start it up again.
Exactly.
So usually you're talking about turning something on or getting something started. For example, maybe your car won't start. So if you push it, you can get it going.
Right, to get it going, or to turn the key is to get it going.
Okay, right. So to get something going. Now, moving on, we have 2 key phrases here that are a little bit spicy, right?
Yeah, they're very romantic, although this is a CPR class, so it shouldn't be very romantic.
All right, well, this phrase that we have coming up is French kiss, to French kiss someone, or a French kiss.
So the volunteer says, okay, I'm happy to help you, but no French kissing.
Okay, so what is French kissing?
No one wants to answer.
All right, what is it? Well, it is when you kiss someone, but your tongue goes into that other person's mouth.
Ew. All right, so there's a normal kiss. You can kiss your friends on the cheek, but a French kiss means that you use your tongue.
Okay, so I wonder why they call it a French kiss.
Maybe Americans just were too shy.
They blamed it on the French.
Maybe the French listeners out there can tell us.
All right. So now moving on. And she says, okay, no French kissing. Now the man is going to perform CPR, and obviously he has to firmly press down on her chest to get her heart pumping blood, right?
Right. This is a part of CPR. So first of all, you try to give the person air so they can breathe, and then you have to push their chest to start their heart. And this woman, the volunteer, says, hey, what are you doing? You can't just kiss me first. and then go for second base.
All right, so what is second base?
Okay, this is a sports metaphor.
With baseball, right?
Baseball.
Because baseball has 4 bases: first, second, third base, and home plate or
Exactly.
home base.
So in romance, when we're talking about dating, we have a way to say first, second, third, and fourth base. First base is kissing.
That's kissing, right? So second base, what would be second base?
Well, in this example, it means touching,
Touching certain parts of the body, right?
romantic touching.
All right, so second base. And then obviously we have third and fourth, but we're not going to get into that now.
You can look it up on Google, third base and fourth base. We trust that you can find it. But first and second base are very common. It's okay to talk about. It's not a bad word.
So you'll probably see it in movies, young kids talking about first base or going to second base with someone. So it's kind of saying this in a different way, as a metaphor, as you said.
It's more polite than
Subtle.
talking about.
It's
Yeah,
subtle.
more subtle.
All right, so that's all the words and phrases we have on Fluency Builder. Let's listen to this great dialogue one last time.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our CPR for Beginners course. First of all, does anyone know what CPR stands for?
Cardiopulmonary resuscitation.
That's right. We apply CPR in the case of cardiac arrest or pulmonary arrest.
What does that mean?
Well, basically, if your heart stops pumping blood or your lungs stop pumping air, then we need to get them going again. That's when we have to apply this procedure. Let's begin. I need a volunteer.
Me! Me!
All right, come here and lay flat on your back. Let's suppose this young woman has stopped breathing. We must lift the person's chin so that we clear a pathway for air to get into the lungs. Then, we place our mouth over the other person's mouth and blow air 2 or 3 times, like this.
Wait, what are you doing? I'm a married woman. You can't just try to kiss me like that.
Ma'am, I'm not trying to kiss you. I'm trying to demonstrate how to apply CPR in the case of an emergency.
Well, okay, no French kissing.
As I was saying, we blow air through the mouth in this manner. Once this is done, we must try to get the heart going again. To do this, we place our hands over the person's chest and press down firmly 2 or 3 times.
Wait, what are you doing? You can't just kiss me then go for second base.
All right, we're back. So a CPR class, this is actually a very popular thing to take up. You never know when you need to perform it, right?
That's true, and I think it's a really smart class to take. You can usually take them for free at a community center or a fire department.
The Red Cross.
The Red Cross. I have a Red Cross certification.
Oh, really? So you know how to perform this?
Yep.
Wow. It's actually, as I said, I think it would be very useful, and I've never taken a course like this up, but I know how to perform the procedure. So
Yeah.
I'm not certified, though, so I'm not a certified
trust you.
CPR. I'm not a certified CPR person. But it's interesting. Let us know if in your country maybe you can take CPR classes, or maybe you're a CPR certified technician. I don't
Or
know.
maybe you are trained in other ways, so we're curious about those as well. Let us know if you have any questions about today's lesson. Our website is englishpod.com.
All right, we'll see you guys there.
Bye, everyone.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Emergency procedure for reviving heart and lung function. Cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Represent. Stand for. In the matter of someone or something. In the case of. Failure of the pumping action of the heart. Cardiac arrest. The cessation of breathing. Pulmonary arrest. A manner of proceeding. Procedure. A person who performs voluntarily. Volunteer. Lie down with all parts of the body touching the floor. Lay flat. Face up, lying on the floor. On your back. Assume to be true. Suppose. A kiss in which the tongue enters the partner's mouth. French kiss. Touch the breast. Go for second base.
Let something work again. Get going.
Let's try that faster.
Let something work again. Get going.
Lie down with all parts of the body touching the floor. Lay flat. Failure of the pumping action of the heart. Cardiac arrest. In the matter of someone or something. In the case of. Touch the breast. Go for second base. A kiss in which the tongue enters the partner's mouth. French kiss. Assume to be true. Suppose. A manner of proceeding. Procedure. Represent. Stand for. A person who performs voluntarily. Volunteer. The cessation of breathing. Pulmonary arrest. Emergency procedure for reviving heart and lung function. Cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Face up, lying on the floor. On your back.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Cardiac arrest.
He is going into cardiac arrest. Pass me the defibrillator.
Cardiac arrest.
During cardiac arrest, victims lose consciousness, stop normal breathing, and lose pulse and blood pressure.
Cardiac arrest.
If a person goes into cardiac arrest, you should apply CPR.
Suppose.
Let's suppose I'm your boyfriend. Would you marry me?
Suppose.
Scientists suppose many things in science which they later try to prove.
Suppose.
Suppose we win the lottery. What would we spend the money on? Get going. If your car doesn't start, you can push it to get it going. Get going. You have to cheer up and get yourself going again. Get going. You have to wind up this toy to get it going.
French kiss.
The first time I French kissed a girl was when I was 18.
French kiss.
The French kiss is a timeless and passionate gesture of romantic affection.
French kiss.
Most high schools prohibit French kissing because it is considered an inappropriate display of affection.
Go for second base.
Some friends were bragging about how they got to second base with the girl.
Go for second base.
I would never try to go to second base with a girl. I am too shy.
Go for second base.
I think that you shouldn't go to second base with someone until you are married.
Hello, English learners. Welcome back to another great lesson here at English Pod. My name is Marco.
And I'm Erica.
And today we are going to have a lesson that is going to be very useful when you arrive late.
Yes, well, we all have arrived late to something, and we need a good way of saying sorry and saying why we were late.
So today we're not only going to be looking at vocabulary used to explain why you are late, but also some typical excuses of why people are late.
Right, so some normal reasons for saying why you're late. Well, why don't we get started with the dialogue? Now, we're going to hear 5 people in the dialogue. So at the beginning, we'll hear the boss and the assistant, and then we'll hear 3 people who are arriving late.
Where's everyone? We were supposed to start 15 minutes ago.
Jo called and said she'd be here in a sec. She said she got tied up with a client.
Sorry I'm late, everyone. Oh, there was a huge traffic jam on the highway this morning.
Morning, everyone. Were you stuck in traffic as well, Jess? There was a huge pileup on the highway, and traffic was backed up for miles.
Scott just called and said that he's running late. His last meeting ran over, but he's on his way now.
Guys, this is not acceptable. If I say the meeting starts at 10, the meeting starts at 10, not 10:01, and definitely not 10:20. All right, let's get started. So the first thing I want to talk about is
I'm really sorry, everyone. I know I'm late, but really, it's not my fault. I was getting a coffee at Starbucks, and the line was way too long. I was waiting for 20 minutes to get my coffee.
All right, so, well, good excuses in general, except the last one. I don't think that's such a good excuse of why you're late, right?
Yeah, I don't really think if I was the boss, I would be very happy with this employee.
Yeah, I don't think coffee is that important.
But some of the excuses were good, and some of the language they used to describe the excuses was really great. So let's look at that now in language takeaway.
Language takeaway.
All right, on language takeaway today, we have 4 words that we're going to be looking at. And well, let's get started with the first one. So Jo called the office assistant and explained that she will be late because she got tied up with a client.
To get tied up.
So I got tied up with a client.
All right, this is a really common reason for being late, but why don't we listen to some examples to help us understand what it means?
Example 1.
Sorry I'm late, honey. I got tied up at the office.
Example 2.
I was tied up on the phone all afternoon and didn't get any work done.
Example 3.
I got tied up in traffic on the way here.
All right, so if you get tied up, it means that you get busy with something that you can't avoid.
Right, you're busy with something that's so important, it's like you are tied by a rope to that thing.
Okay, I got tied up. I'm sorry, I got tied up.
Yep.
All right, now, the first person that arrived to the office, well, explained that there was a huge traffic jam on the highway.
A traffic jam.
A traffic jam.
A huge traffic jam.
Now, we understand traffic, right? Mm-hmm. Cars, a lot of cars.
Yep.
So a jam, it means that it was like blocked.
It was stopped.
It was stopped.
Yep.
There were a lot of cars on the highway and they weren't moving.
So a huge traffic jam is a very big stopping of cars.
Now, our next word explains why sometimes there is a traffic jam.
Well, we found out that there was a huge pileup.
A pileup.
A huge pileup.
Okay, a huge pileup. Now, if a pileup is another way of saying an accident, right?
Yeah, an accident with many cars and they all get piled on top of each other.
All right, so many cars got into an accident.
Yep.
So this could be a reason of why there was a traffic jam.
And also a reason for why you were late.
Right. Now, the other person, Scott, also called and he said that he's running late.
He's running late.
He's running late.
I'm running late.
Now, if I'm running late, am I actually running somewhere? What am I doing? What's happening?
You are going to be late and you know you're going to be late.
Okay, I know I'm going to be late. So I'll call you and I'll say, hey, I'm running a little bit late.
Yeah, actually, this is the most common thing I say when I'm going to be late. And I think it's really important to know how to use this phrase. So let's hear some more examples.
Example 1.
Jane is running late. She'll be here in 10 minutes.
Example 2.
Traffic is really bad, so I'm running late.
Example 3.
I'm running a bit late, so please start without me.
All right, perfect. So running late, a very common way of explaining that you're going to be late, and well, it makes you sound very native.
Yeah, it's a great phrase. Now, our last phrase, what we heard, the reason why Scott was running late was because his last meeting ran over.
Okay, to run over.
My meeting ran over.
Now, ran over, my meeting ran over, it means it went too far?
Well, when something runs over, it goes longer.
Okay, longer than expected.
Yeah, so a meeting can run over or an appointment can run over.
So I can say, my meeting ran over 15 minutes. I'm going to be a little bit late.
That's right. A great excuse.
Very good. 5 great words. And well, I think it's time for us to listen to this dialogue and understand these words as they were used in the dialogue. And then we'll come back and take a look at more phrases.
Where is everyone? We were supposed to start 15 minutes ago.
Joe called and said she'd be here in a sec. She said she got tied up with a client.
Sorry I'm late, everyone. There was a huge traffic jam on the highway this morning.
Morning, everyone. Were you stuck in traffic as well, Jess? There was a huge pileup on the highway, and traffic was backed up for miles.
Scott just called and said that he's running late. His last meeting ran over, but he's on his way now.
Guys, this is not acceptable. If I say the meeting starts at 10, the meeting starts at 10, not 10:01, and definitely not 10:20. All right, let's get started. So the first thing I want to talk about is our...
I'm really sorry, everyone. I know I'm late, but really it's not my fault. I was getting a coffee at Starbucks, and the line was way too long. I was waiting for 20 minutes to get my coffee.
Okay, we got some more great phrases for describing being late. Let's look at them now in Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
When Joe called, she said she'd be there in a sec.
I'll be here in a sec.
I'll be here in a sec.
So when someone will be here in a sec, it means they'll be here very soon, right?
Okay, I'll be here in a sec. I'll be there in a sec.
But what about this word sec?
It's a short way of saying second.
So S-E-C.
A sec. Now, it's an exaggeration, obviously, because you won't be there in 1 second. But you're just explaining that you'll be there very, very soon.
What about the difference between I'll be here in a sec and I'll be here in a minute?
Well, if you say I'll be there in a sec, it means like I'll be there in 1 minute, right? But if you say, oh, I'll be there in a minute, it could be a minute or more like 3 or 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Now, again, going back to this traffic issue, we saw that somebody was stuck in traffic.
To be stuck in traffic.
I got stuck in traffic.
Now, when you're stuck in traffic, you can't drive because there are too many cars stopped on the highway.
So you are actually in the traffic jam.
Yeah, you're stopped there for like 20 minutes. You can't move.
Okay, I'm stuck in traffic. I'm going to be late.
Really great excuse. And the reason they were stuck in traffic was because traffic was backed up for miles.
Okay, traffic is backed up for miles.
To be backed up for miles.
Now, if I say the traffic is backed up for miles, it means that it's very long, or how does that work?
Well, okay, imagine there is an accident, and that has caused a traffic jam, and the cars are lined up for many miles behind you.
Okay, so it's backed up. From that point, there are many miles of cars waiting to pass.
Yep. So it's backed up for miles.
Very good. So great phrases, and I think it's appropriate for us to listen to the dialogue for the very last time, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more about this being on time issue.
Where is everyone? We were supposed to start 15 minutes ago.
Joe called and said she'd be here in a sec. She said she got tied up with a client.
Sorry I'm late, everyone. Oh, there was a huge traffic jam on the highway this morning.
Morning, everyone. Were you stuck in traffic as well, Jess? There was a huge pileup on the highway, and traffic was backed up for miles.
Scott just called and said that he's running late. His last meeting ran over, but he's on his way now.
Guys, this is not acceptable. If I say the meeting starts at 10, the meeting starts at 10, not 10:01, and definitely not 10:20. All right, let's get started. So the first thing I want to talk about
I'm
is
really sorry, everyone. I know I'm late, but really, it's not my fault. I was getting a coffee at Starbucks, and the line was way too long. I was waiting for 20 minutes to get my coffee.
Well, Marco, I know that ideas about time and ideas about being late are different in different countries.
Yeah, in different countries, people treat time or being on time in different ways.
Yeah, like I'm from Canada, and I look at being on time really different than you do, right?
Yes, because for example, if you call for a meeting at 9 o'clock, usually people will be there at 9 o'clock because the meeting will start.
In America.
Right, in America. Now, for example, in Latin America, we do have this, what we call sometimes the Latino time or Hispanic time, which is like 9 o'clock is like the time that everyone should be there, but until people get there, get their coffee and whatever, then it'll be 9:15, maybe up to 9:30.
And I think it's a little bit even more noticeable when we're talking about social events. Like if you go to someone's house for dinner, in Canada, if they say, come to my house at 6 o'clock for dinner, you'll be there at 6:05, right?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, usually you'll be there only a couple of minutes after the time that was specified, just to, give the house owner a little bit of time.
Yep.
But if we have a dinner invitation for 6, we know that it's not really going to begin eating at 6, so people will get there at 6:30 or 7, and of course, food isn't ready until like maybe 8 or 9.
But in German countries, from what I know, you've got to be there. If they say be there at 6, you're there at 6:00, right? Not 6:01.
And also, I think it's about when people start work, right?
Yeah.
How on time you have to begin work. Sometimes it's acceptable to be 10 or 15 minutes so-called late, but in other places,
Yeah, North America, if you're supposed to start work at 9, you have to be at your desk working at 9.
At 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, see that in other countries, people get there at 9, get their coffee, maybe take a quick glance at their emails or the newspaper, and then, start working at around 9:30 or 10.
So I guess the important thing is to know what the tradition is in the country where you are.
Exactly. So come to our website, englishpod.com, and let us know how it works in your countries. I know that many different countries have a different way of treating time, so share it with us.
Yes, and remember, if you have any questions, please ask them at the website as well. We're out of time today, but until next time, thanks for listening and goodbye.
Bye-bye. The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word. The quality of always being on time.
Punctual.
Blocked, so you can't move forward.
Backed up.
Later than planned. Late.
Behind schedule.
Sleep later than planned.
Sleep.
Become busy. Unable to leave.
Got tied up.
The quality of often being late.
Tardiness.
Move very quickly.
Hustle.
Going to be late.
Running late.
To go beyond a limit.
Ran over.
So make cars on the road that you cannot drive or move forward.
Stuck in traffic.
Soon.
In a sec.
Very big.
Huge.
A lot of cars stopped from moving.
Traffic jam.
An accident where many cars crash into each other.
Pile up.
Let's try that faster. Going to be late.
Running late.
Soon.
In a sec.
Move very quickly.
Hustle.
Sleep later than planned.
Sleep.
To go beyond a limit.
Ran over.
Become busy, unable to leave.
Got tied up.
The quality of often being late.
Tardiness.
An accident where many cars crash into each other.
Pile up.
Blocked so you can't move forward.
Backed up.
The quality of always being on time.
Punctual.
Later than planned, late.
Behind schedule.
A lot of cars stopped from moving.
Traffic jam.
Very big.
Huge.
So make cars on the road that you cannot drive or move forward.
Stuck in traffic.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Stuck in traffic. Hello, Daniel. It's me. Listen, I'm gonna be late today because I'm stuck in traffic. Stuck in traffic. We should leave early this morning or else we'll get stuck in traffic. Stuck in traffic. We should have taken the other highway. Now we'll be stuck in traffic for at least an hour. Ran over. The meeting ran over by more than 30 minutes. Ran over. I always leave an extra 15 minutes in my schedule, just in case meetings run over a bit. Ran over. Frank always forgets about the time and runs over the time limit of his presentations. Running late. Jane is running late. She'll be here in 10 minutes. Running late. Traffic is really bad, so I'm running late. Running late. I'm running a bit late, so please start without me. Got tied up. Sorry I'm late, honey. I got tied up at the office. Got tied up. I was tied up on the phone all afternoon and didn't get any work done. Got tied up. I got tied up in traffic on the way here. The accident backed up traffic for miles. Don't take the 405 freeway today. There was an accident, so there are cars backed up for miles. Our highway system is very inefficient. Traffic is backed up for miles every morning.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word. The quality of always being on time.
Punctual.
Blocked, so you can't move forward.
Backed up.
Later than planned. Late.
Behind schedule.
Sleep later than planned.
Sleep.
Become busy. Unable to leave.
Got tied up.
The quality of often being late.
Tardiness.
Move very quickly.
Hustle.
Going to be late.
Running late.
To go beyond a limit.
Ran over.
So make cars on the road that you cannot drive or move forward.
Stuck in traffic.
Soon.
In a sec.
Very big.
Huge.
A lot of cars stopped from moving.
Traffic jam.
An accident where many cars crash into each other.
Pile up.
Let's try that faster. Going to be late.
Running late.
Soon.
In a sec.
Move very quickly.
Hustle.
Sleep later than planned.
Sleep.
To go beyond a limit.
Ran over.
Become busy. Unable to leave.
Got tied up.
The quality of often being late.
Tardiness.
An accident where many cars crash into each other.
Pile up.
Blocked, so you can't move forward.
Backed up.
The quality of always being on time.
Punctual.
Later than planned. Late.
Behind schedule.
A lot of cars stopped from moving.
Traffic jam.
Very big.
Huge.
So make cars on the road that you cannot drive or move forward.
Stuck in traffic.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Stuck in traffic.